Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Ranking Spankings, our series where we rank, compare and contrast something that we like, whether it be a band's discography or, anything at all. We like ranking things because that's what does well on YouTube. Today we'll be ranking the discography of Weezer, one of my favourite bands and I'm hoping one of yours. And joining me on this ranking expedition, I am joined by two fellow rankers, Matthew Dobby.
I waved.
I can't see. I can't see.
It occurred to me once I did it that you couldn't. But
I can't see.
We'll have audio description. Dobby waves.
Dobby, thank you for me, the hard of sight, because I'm not looking at the screen. And making his debut on Ranking Spankings, Neil Upton.
Hello. I'm not gonna wave. You just pretend I waved.
An audible wave is much appreciated. How are you two both doing?
Super.
Yeah.
I keep
doing fine.
I keep staring at myself in the Zoom camera, which is mirrored, and I feel really awkward.
I like that you called it Zoom. I think that sounds better than saying Zoom.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. Well, I'm glad you're both here. So before we get started...
I'm just going to turn it off.
That's okay. That's okay. Just, I can see you. I can't see you, but I'm sure you look beautiful. How did you guys get into Weezer? Like, was there a particular album that, you found them with, or how did they...
When I was getting into rock music, I would just keep, Kerrang on, and Buddy Holly was just always playing. Buddy Holly was the first song, obviously. I think I remember seeing Hashpipe around that time as well, but I didn't truly get into Weezer until one day the music video for Keep Fishing came on, and then I fell in love.
Those Muppets are a good gateway into many things in life. Well, I was lucky enough that I was introduced to them pretty young because my dad had the Blue Album on cassette. Ooh. And so that was my first brief introduction. And then, much like you, I remember that music video to Hashpipe being on TV all the time. And I think the Green Album was the first one that, it first sort of was just exposed to all the time. But what about you, Neil? How did you get into Weezer?
I think Guitar Hero 3. I can't really remember now.
My Name is
really
Jonas.
Remember. Yeah, I do remember. I kind of hated My Name is Jonas just because it was at the start of the game. It was like in the first block of songs you played, and I hated most of those songs because they were either too easy, or they just sounded boring. So I don't know. At some point, it just clicked with me, and then. Yeah, I don't really remember how I got into Weezer. Quite
fair enough. I still, if I'm ever in a guitar shop or playing a new guitar, the opening riff to My Name is Jonas is often the first thing that I'll strum out just because it's so fun to play. It's that Travis Pickens style at the start. I love it so much. But anyway, we're not here to talk about individual songs. We're here to talk about albums. And so we're going to run through them in chronological order. A few pieces of housekeeping before we get started. We won't be including Death to False Metal, mainly because it's not in this template that we found. And also because you wouldn't really call it like a full-blooded Weezer album, would you?
What, Death to False Metal? I mean, it's B-sides, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So we won't be including that. However, we will be including the Teal Album because although it's a covers album, we're normally sort of, a bit reticent about including cover albums in these tier lists. It is a coloured album, which is sort of like,
Watch your language.
It makes sense. But coloured albums are kind of the tent poles of Weezer's discography, so it would be a bit remiss of us not to include it.
Wait, so we are doing Teal?
I think we should do Teal. I thought we agreed that we were doing Teal.
Twitter said no.
Yeah,
did they?
I voted no on that poll.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ignore me. I would have given it B tier, but we won't be including it.
I would have put it.
No.
Yeah, I would have put it anywhere that high.
See, this is why we should have included it.
We can have that discussion in a bit.
Anyway, enough on-air production notes. Let's crack on with their debut album, which I believe is 1994, with the Blue Album.
S tier, move on.
Well, let me put it in the thing first, so we've got a nice picture. So it's sitting in B at the moment while we agree.
Blue Album.
Exactly. So this. As a debut album, I mean, what more can you say? It's got some of their most iconic tracks that, to this day, are just timeless. You've got, as you said, Buddy Holly, My Name is Jonas, the Sweater Song, so many good tracks, and yeah, I mean, it sort of set the template for Weezer's sound. I don't think there was anything else really like it beforehand, and it's one of those albums that everyone tries to emulate. So I mean, I would put it in S tier, which we put down as very good, very good. So
agreed. S tier.
It's S tier.
That was really nice and easy.
That's not even a contest, is it?
Hey, what's your favourite song from the Blue Album, guys?
Sweater Song, I think.
Bear with.
I think mine is My Name is Jonas.
Ah, Neil's favourite.
I think I'd go for Only in Dreams.
Deep cut, I like
the
it.
other end of the album.
There is no wrong answer.
I mean, Say It Ain't So, we haven't mentioned that yet. That is another absolutely banger of a track.
I don't think there's a single bad song on that album.
I would agree. Not a one.
That's,
and also,
that album is what I think of when I think of California in the 90s. Not that I was there.
Neil's halcyon days in the California sun in the 90s. Also, I really dig the album cover as well. I think the idea of just them sort of looking all geeky in the front was quite a bold move. But it is
UDS.
Yeah, basically
on a pink background.
The Pink Album. We could actually do that.
That's the next one, Tom. Segue.
Hey, Pinkerton, which was after a 4-year gap, I believe. I think this is 1998. So this is
was it that long? Okay.
I don't think it was that long, was it?
Let's do it again.
Because the gap between Green and
it's
Pinkerton
96.
was massive.
96. My apologies. It's still when we get a little bit later on, we'll realize how prolific some periods of Weezer are. Like they were releasing an album every year, so even 2 years is kind of a big gap in the grand scheme of things for Weezer. But this is a very divisive album because Pinkerton was not appreciated in its day. Kind of led to a lot of anger and resentment within the band. Rivers Cuo-No's sort of confessions and sort of themes in this album are a little bit gross in hindsight, but
Prude.
Since then,
well, I don't know. I think Tom might have a point there, but
yeah,
Tom's prude.
Hey, goddamn those half Japanese girls. Anyway.
Oh, Tom.
What?
Oh, Tom. You and your casual racism.
It's a line in the song. It's a line in the song. Oh, god damn this podcast / YouTube series. It has since garnered a massive cult following to the point where like Pinkerton is sort of held on a pedestal above even the Blue Album by many people. But where would you guys put before we get to where we would put it, what are your guys' opinion of Pinkerton?
It's great and I've always loved it.
Yeah. I think that was the first album of theirs that I really fell in love with, honestly. So.
See, it was one that I discovered after the fact. As I say, I kind of listened to the Blue Album and the Green Album first. And even I would say it was probably about the time that the Red Album came out that I started going back to some of their previous ones, like Pinkerton. Because obviously this is before, like, you could just pop on Spotify and just listen to anything and everything at a touch of a button. And it took me a while to get into Pinkerton. I remember liking The Good Life because it is sort of that really poppy, like boppy track, poppy boppy. And
I think just sorry as a side note, The Good Life, that's my favourite song of Weezer's discography. I'd say.
Oh, interesting. Oh, it's so good. It's definitely my favourite on this album. But then
it's my favourite on Pinkerton as well.
We're so alike, you and I, and
all three of us.
all you and we. It took me a while to get into tracks like El Scorcho, Pink Triangle, Butterfly, but since then I have really dug it and I've really got into it, and I would say the people are right, it belongs in S tier. Very good, very good.
Yeah,
S tier, no contest. Let's just move on.
I would say Pinkerton has even gone beyond cult status at this point to just being widely accepted as an incredible album.
But it's bizarre to me that it was like kind of criticised when it came out. I don't know. I've always kind of enjoyed it, and it confused me when I read like that people didn't like it. It was kind of panned at the time. But...
I think it's because of how it's quite different to the first album.
Yeah, I suppose it's
put it in the context of what else was happening in the 90s. I mean, Pinkerton to me, people call it the precursor to emo, but I don't think of it as such. I look at bands like the Stone Temple Pilots who were putting albums out around the same time, and I think Pinkerton's kind of got a lot in common with it, to be honest.
That's interesting.
See why it happened.
See, would you put it above the Blue Album, or would you say the Blue Album is still the best?
Now that's the contentious point, isn't it? Because I know Neil would put it above the Blue Album.
That's me.
I wouldn't personally.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Dobby. I think the Blue Album just about trumps it. So
I think in terms of like
Let's
how fun the
basically
Blue Album
on
is,
level,
like,
but
yeah,
yeah, I'd say the Blue Album is more fun, but I think it kind of covers more mature tones, I guess, in Pinkerton.
yeah. I mean, I think Pinkerton is more sort of Rivers Cuomo's diary in sort of lyric form,
Yeah.
really. His
And
relationship
I agree with
with
what you said earlier as well, that he comes across as a bit of a creep in it.
Yeah,
fair, like,
I mean,
And it is like 2020 hindsight, not literally because it's 2021, but
yeah, I mean, just
you
for
say
context,
hi-oh, but like really offhandedly.
I did, yes.
Hi-oh.
Hi-oh. I think it's worth sort of mentioning the context is that basically there's tracks in this song which is his relationship, which I believe was with a 17-year-old girl.
it was like, is it Across the Sea? I think.
Yeah,
it's that one,
and sort of I think the opening line of El Scorcho as well. God damn you, half Japanese girls is also a reference to that. So it's obviously, we're not insinuating he ever did anything illegal. It's just kind of a little bit creepy in the scheme of things. So it's what it is, though. It's still a good album, S tier, just below Blue Album at the moment for me. But we can always adjust later on. Anyway, we do have quite a significant jump next, which is 2001's Green Album, which, as I say, was sort of the first. I think it was the first CD of theirs that I listened to back to front loads, and again really dug it. I remember distinctly the music videos from this album. You had Island in the Sun with all of the animals and them just frolicking around. You had
two videos for that song, weren't there? Actually, I think
there might have even been 3.
Really? 3 Islands in the Sun. You also had obviously Hash Pipe with the sumo wrestlers, and it was a really good singles album for me. With that being said, in hindsight, I think that other parts of this album are a little bit weaker than what we've had so far.
I think the back end of this album is just very forgettable for the most part.
I would agree.
I think it kind of, I don't know. I think it might only have like 3 songs worth like calling good.
Really, you'd go that?
Ooh,
I don't dislike the album. Well, maybe I'm really not that fussed about it. This one.
See, I would say tracks like Crab are good, and Burnt Jam and things like that.
Burnt Jam's on Maladroit.
Yeah, that's not on.
Oh, is it? Oh, my apologies. That's the next one. Maybe Crab's on that as well. I can't remember.
No, Crab's on this one. I would say, I mean, Island in the Sun is one of those songs I never need to hear again. I think it's really boring, but I understand it's great. It's also their most played song on Spotify.
It's
I
very
do agree.
popular.
Like, I enjoy Island in the Sun, but I agree. Like, I've never be fussed if I'd never heard it again. Like,
yeah, I mean, Hash Pipe, like Crab, as you say, Don't Let Go is a great opener. Knockdown Drag Out, I really like as well. I think the first half of this album is pretty good, and I think the back half is just very. I look at these songs and I can't really remember them, to be honest.
No, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, I don't remember Smile or Simple Pages.
And I would say before we recorded this, I went through and made sure I listened to every song for at least 20 seconds. So that's lasted well.
Oh, jeez.
It's funny because I don't even care about Don't Let It Go, but like I can remember what that sounds like. I know what that song is. So I don't know. Yeah.
It's difficult to rank this one. Weezer start really strong, and then they just sort of yo-yo all over the place throughout their career. I think I'd be inclined to say B.
I was thinking
maybe
B.
C.
Do we have a chance to like sort of change our minds as we go along compared to?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'd say B for now at least.
Let's leave it in B for now then, and move.
I wouldn't give it an A at all, but
No. There's definitely some albums coming up who I would definitely give A to, but this ain't it, Chief. So next we move on to Maladroit, which I think is the pronunciation.
Maladroit is what I will always call it.
I'd say it's what Tom says, but yeah, Dobby's always called it Maladroit. Maladroit.
Detroit, Michigan. So this is the first album which I think I wouldn't say it's a good album at all. So this is I think this is the first one which I would say is a bit of a disappointment. With that being said, it has Keep Fishing on it, which is a banger. With that being said, it's the only one that I can really sort of remember fondly off this album.
I quite like this album actually. I definitely prefer this album over the Green Album, personally.
Interesting. But what about you, Dobby?
So Keep Fishing is probably my favourite Weezer song. Not the version that's on the album, funnily enough. the music video version is much better. Maladroit's one of my favourite Weezer albums as well. I think it's a really good album.
What else on there do you like then?
American Gigolo, Dope Nose is incredible. Slob, Burnt Jam, Space Rock, Fall Together, Love Explosion. I can just list them off the top of my head.
Yeah, those are all the ones I would have said as well.
Fair enough.
Looking at the list.
No, for whatever reason, it just didn't resonate as much with me. With that being said, I think we need to sort of say the context that this is ranking them within the context of Weezer albums. In the grand scheme of every album ever made by anyone, I would say it's still a pretty good album. But I would say, by the standards of Weezer, I would say C. I'm inclined to rank it a lot higher, considering that you guys have got fond memories of it.
I would put this A.
I was going A coming into.
It's like higher B for me. I'd definitely put it over the Green Album.
Definitely above the Green Album.
Okay. Well, so would you guys be okay with the top of B for now then?
I guess on the proviso that come the end of this, I think it will be an A tier purely based on what else we've got coming.
That's fair. I feel like the next entry is going to be very controversial then, which is Weezer's Make Believe from 2005, which I would say is an A tier.
So
I don't know if you're joking.
I'm not. I love this album.
Make Believe's a weird one because in my head I've always thought I don't like that album very much, and over time I've just always that's sort of become ingrained. And again, going through this album just before, there's a lot of stuff I like on this album, and yet I still pervasively feel like I don't care about it all that much.
See, this is an album that starts with Beverly Hills, which is again one of those Weezer songs which, by sort of, objectively, I like, but because it's been played so much, it's kind of lost that enjoyability to me.
Beverly Hills is a meme that everyone loves, even if they say they don't.
Yeah, but I like the deep cuts on this album as well. I like Perfect Situation, We Are All on Drugs, Best
Perfect
Friend.
Perfect Situation is my favourite song on it.
My
Best Friend is good, We Are All on Drugs is good, but I don't necessarily think it's got anything else other than those four.
If I was to run through, like, Beverly Hills, I don't like it, but it's like one of those party tunes, isn't it, that you kind of just enjoy anyway.
Gimme.
But it reminds me of like how who was it? Queen. They wrote "We Will Rock You" because they said they didn't have any stadium anthems that people could like join in with, and it feels like that kind of song. Like I kind of hate it for that.
Hate is a strong word.
I think Perfect Situation is fine. Like,
Perfect Situation is the
like
best
you
song
say,
on the album,
I
no
think
question.
out of everything on this album, it's probably my favourite. But then you got This Is Such a Pity and We Are All on Drugs, and like they're so. I don't even know if unsubtle is the word because it's not like they're trying to say anything. It's just so stupid. Especially We Are All on Drugs. What a stupid song
all on drugs.
I think this is the first time that it becomes clear that Rivers isn't as great at lyric writing as people
It was like he
necessarily
gave
put him
up,
up
wasn't
to be.
it?
Yeah, and I mean he comes back to being good for a few albums shortly, and then we get to sort of the last few years and it just goes off the deep end.
Yeah.
It was like he was trying to write for everyone instead of writing. Wasn't it actually that because of the backlash for Pinkerton, he stopped writing songs that were personal to him because he didn't think people liked them? Something like that?
I know that it definitely.
That might be true.
Yeah, I think there definitely was a backlash to Pinkerton that affected his writing style. But I don't know. I would personally put this low A, high B above Maladroit. I don't think I'm going to win you guys over. Do you think it's better or worse than the Green Album?
I'd put a D, quite frankly. But...
It's worse than the Green Album. It's worse than the Green Album. I don't think it's...
I'd put it maybe C, just to like give it a level playing field for the minute.
I'd definitely put it in C. I'm umming and erring over D purely because there's other things coming.
Actually, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I would like to point out as well that we don't have a D tier. It goes very good, A, B, C, and Rivers Cuo-NO.
I like that.
So I'll put it in C for now, begrudgingly.
I'm happy to accept that for the time being.
And we will move forward to 2007 or 8. I can't remember.
Ooh, 8.
8
7.
with the Red Album, and this is an album that's going to be very hard for me to rank because personally, this album is one of my favourite Weezer albums. But I know it's again one that doesn't get a lot of love. I would put this one personally on the same tier as the Blue Album and Pinkerton for my personal rankings. I love this album.
this isn't S tier, but I would say it's A tier.
I want to cry. I want to put this on D tier. I hate this album. I cannot stand it.
I thought because I not only does this one sort of have nostalgic, significance because of singles like Pork and Beans and Troublemaker and things like that, but I think it's Weezer for the first time kind of trying to expand into more avenues, which they will do to less success later on. But stuff like I Am the Greatest Man That Ever Lived is basically like a prog opera style track with gospel rapping and loads of other elements, which it's very sort of, it's very self-indulgent, but I dig it. It's an
incredibly experimental album, and I think whilst you can't necessarily say that a lot of these experiments are ones you want to hear Weezer keep doing, and let's be fair, Weezer are a band who will not do what you want them to do nowadays.
No.
I think most of these experiments are, to the extent, pretty interesting to listen to and good. There's not really a song. I don't really like The Angel and the One, but other than that, I don't think there's a song on here I wouldn't listen to quite happily.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you say experimental, do you mean just for Weezer or in terms of...
For Weezer. I mean, they were switching up the instruments they were playing. They're all taking different turns singing, aren't they, and everything.
Brian Bell has the Thought I Know, which which is one of my favourite songs on that album.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate this album.
I've got that impression.
I like Pork and Beans just because it's that song from this album that just kind of got played a lot. I think one of my least favourite songs out of all of Weezer's discography is The Greatest Man That Ever Lived. Which is the one that, the one it's like, it's got all the choirs and stuff. It's the kind of the most experimental. I don't like it. I cannot stand it.
But then tracks like Everybody Get Dangerous has got like a real Britpop like vibe to it, and I really dig that as well. I love this album, but I think considering that Neil is so against it, we can't put it in S tier. I'm still thinking if you make me put Make Believe in C, you gotta let me have the Red Album in A.
I also just want to add that my favourite song on this is bonus track The Wait, which is a cover.
Yeah, that is a good take a load off.
I think they did a pretty good job on that cover. So
the other bonus track is Life's What You Make It, and I love that.
I kind of because
that's a cover of
that's 60s psychedelic sort of.
Yeah,
that's another cover. That's Talk Talk, I think.
Is it Talk Talk? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and The Wait is the very creatively named band,
Uncle.
The Band.
Oh, well, I think it was Uncle.
No, it's The Band.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just thought it was Uncle.
It is Talk Talk, you're right.
See, I remember these things. I remember having the deluxe version of this album and playing it to death. If it was a vinyl, it would have cracked. Anyway, we moved.
I won't deny it. I did enjoy it at the time because it was one of the first like proper Weezer albums I'd got into, because that was when I was sort of getting into music, that sort of era, like 2008-ish. So I won't. I mean, I'll personally be annoyed if it's in the A tier, but if you both really enjoy it, it is what it is. I'm quite happy to accept that.
It's in A tier.
Within the canon of what Weezer have to offer, I think it stands as an A tier.
Agreed. Well, not to burst everyone's bubble, but we're going to Raditude from 2009 next, which...
Oh, yeah, okay, actually.
Jesus Christ, this album ain't good.
Yeah, I would. I don't know why I got so upset about the Red Album when this one was next. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so there is one song on this album that I remember fondly, and it's the If You Want Me To thingy, whatever is it called? I can't even remember what it's called now.
If you're wondering if I want you to, I want you to.
Yeah, that's the one. That one's okay. The rest of it is hot trash. What do you guys think?
I liked it at the time, again, like I liked the Red Album, but like nowadays I couldn't listen to it. It's a mess.
Yeah, what about you, Dobby?
I like this album.
Why do you like this album?
A lot of it's nostalgia, because I remember I was replaying the Spyro games for the first time when I was listening to this, and it was constant. But If You're Wondering If I Want You To is great. I'm Your Daddy is terrible. The Girl Got Hot I have a lot of time for. Can't Stop Partying is terrible. Put Me Back Together I think is pretty alright. Tripping Down the Freeway I think is pretty alright. Love Is the Answer I Can Take or Leave. Let It All Hang Out is rubbish. In the Mall is great. And I Don't Want to Let You Go is fine, whatever.
I think
also
In the
got
Mall...
some really good bonus tracks.
What was on the bonus track? Oh, it had... Yeah, actually
Turn Me Round, Get Me Some, Run Over by a Truck.
I think the bonus tracks might be better than the album, honestly, but I wouldn't give that much credit. In the Mall, I think that might be the only good song on there, and I don't even think that's a good song. I think
Not
it's
even
just...
wondering.
No, you know what? At the time, I really liked it, and because you used to do it in band, didn't you? You used to cover
Yes,
it, and I liked
yeah.
it at the time. But now, I don't enjoy that song. I would, if I saw that on a music channel, I would probably change over.
I like the video of that. For what it's worth.
All of their videos tend to be pretty good. I would love to do a ranking of Weezer music videos at some point.
We can do that.
I think that would be better than the albums.
Yeah,
I'd say they're probably second to the Foo Fighters in terms of best music videos from rock band.
I don't know. I think Weezer might top them, but
Ooh, I disagree.
that's a discussion for another day. Raditude, I would put it in Rivers Cuo-NO, but
Yes,
where would you put it, Dobby?
Yeah. I think it's better than Make Believe at the very least, but I'm willing to put it in Rivers Cuo-NO.
We'll put it in Rivers Cuo-NO for now.
I think it might go up to a C eventually. We've still got some stuff to cover.
And speaking of which, we have got Hurley from 2010 featuring is his name Hugo Reyes, the actor who plays Hurley in Lost.
Idea. He's Hurley.
I can't remember now.
He is Hurley from Lost to me.
Rivers Cuo-NO, no contest.
Hurley is way better than Raditude, and I think Hurley would be A tier for me personally.
Wow! I see. I think it's better than Raditude.
When was the last time you listened to Hurley?
The other day I listened to, because it's got tracks like Memories and Ruling Me.
It has Memories, which is one of my favourite Weezer songs. Ruling Me is great. Where's My Sex is just a fucking laugh. I like Hang On and Smart Girls. I think they fit the nerd rock genre of Weezer quite well. Brave New World is really good. Time Flies I love. You've got cool bonus tracks in like All My Friends Are Insects and I Want to Be Something. I know a lot of people really dislike this period of Weezer, and maybe there is the nostalgia playing a massive factor. Listening through to this afternoon, I loved it.
Memories.
Quite literally memories. Yeah, I'm not a hater of this album at all, but I don't think it's A tier by any stretch of the imagination. I would put it probably at the bottom of B.
I'd put it in C. I think it's better than Make Believe, but I still don't. I don't rank it high.
I'd be okay with bottom of B or top of C personally.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to put it top of C. Like
right,
Memories and Where's My Sex are both good songs, and All My Friends Are Insects, but that's a Yo Gabba Gabba song. So,
so we mentioned that we wouldn't be including Death to Force Metal. That came out in 2010 as well.
Where did we put Hurley?
Top of C. Top of C.
Thank you.
I'll just do that again. So we mentioned that we weren't going to include Death to Force Metal, which also came out in 2010. But just for the sake of curiosity, where would you have stuck that if we were to put it in?
I mean, probably D tier, all the same. To be honest, it's not got anything amazing. They are B-sides. My favourite on Death to Force Metal, for what it's worth, is Autopilot.
I like the cover of Don't Break My Heart.
Yeah, don't
Unbreak My Heart. Sorry, Unbreak My Heart.
I think Unbreak My Heart is my favourite Weezer cover, and frankly.
Fair enough.
I don't think I listened to it, and if I did, I repressed it. So I genuinely don't remember.
There's probably good reason not to include it. But we jump forward 4 years to Everything Will Be Alright in the End from 2014. Now, this is a little bit more of a return for form for me. This is a very, in terms of production, quite a more stripped back album compared to what they've done before. I think the track Back to the Shack, kind of alludes to that anyway. He's back to the shack with a lightning strap, which is his guitar strap. I dig this album. I think this is the first Weezer album I owned on vinyl, and I love it.
I adore this album. I know there's a lot of Weezer fans, and I think Neil might be one of them, who don't think this is as good as it is, frankly. I love it. I adore this album front to back. I hadn't listened to it in a while, and just the first minute of Ain't Got Nobody ringing out earlier just made me so excited. And then you get to the solo, like when the solo kicks in The British Are Coming, that is a proper fist pump fucking moment. I love this album so much.
What about you, Neil?
I think it's a fine album. I don't think it's great. I think it has moments of really good, like The British Are Coming. I do really like The British Are Coming, but I don't like that sort of self-referential stuff Rivers writes in Back to the Shack. Just like, dude, like, Get over yourself. No
I
offense.
think-
I like Rivers Cuomo, but you're kind of putting yourself on a pedestal.
I think at the time, Back to the Shack was like, yes, thank you, finally you're going to start doing this again. And it lasted for an album. And now you look back at Back to the Shack and you're like, oh.
I think that's why this album bothers me more. I used to really enjoy this album. Back when it came out, I was like, this is a pretty good album, actually. And then I think because of what came after it, it sort of dropped down in my ratings because it's like, well, that was a short-lived promise.
I have a feeling we're going to have a falling out about the next one, but we'll talk about...
no, actually, yeah, to be fair, yeah. But then everything after that, it was just, I don't know.
Oh, phew, I was going to say.
We'll get there eventually.
But, I would put this bottom of A, top of B, personally.
I would have this bottom of S, top of A.
I disagree completely, but...
I would agree bottom of A, top of B, yeah. I'm not
this
sure
is better than the Red album.
No, it's not. At least not in my personal...
Yeah, definitely. It's better than the Red album. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, actually, I'll
No.
100%
No.
not have any problems with that.
Oh,
There is no doubt in mine this is better than the Red album.
This is better than the Red album.
I'm going to do it because of democracy, but at the same time, democracy is a flawed system, so apparently this is what we're doing. Oh, yeah, alright then.
Like, the trilogy at the end is, like, way better than The Greatest Man That Ever Lived.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. And I think they're both kind of, like, epics as they're not actually epics, but what they were going for was, like, epicing scale. And I would definitely say the trilogy is better than The Greatest Man That Ever Lived.
Oh,
Better than the Red album.
You guys are some piece of work. But alright then, we'll put it at the top of A, and it will reside there for now. Hopefully for not much longer, because we got to talk about the White Album, which...
S tier, move on.
Yep, absolutely. It's so good. So good. It's that classic Weezer sound back again, and it's just done so well.
I'm going to be conscientious... I can't remember the word.
Devil's advocate?
Maybe I'm going to say a word. You're not going to be impressed with me. I would put it top of A, because I don't think it quite reaches the lofty heights of the Blue Album or Pinkerton, but I do really like this album a lot.
See, when
I
you say...
do. I think if the White Album had come out in the 90s, it would be hailed as almighty.
That's the thing.
The only reason it isn't is because it came out in 2016.
When Neil says that the Blue Album reminds him of his halcyon days in the California sun, this is what reminds me of that sort of California vibe even more so. One, because, they mentioned Santa Monica, they take the photo for the cover album on Santa Monica beach, but at the same time, it just has that sort of dreamy, summery beach vibes, and I just love it. I love it so much. I don't think it's on the same sort... I don't think it's going to outrank the Blue Album or Pinkerton, but I think it's on. I think it's on the same tier. I think it's at the bottom of S.
I would say same tier. And frankly, this was the last good Weezer album, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that 100%.
I think the back end of this album is a bit weaker for me. Not that it's bad. I want to make that clear. But stuff like I like Summer Lane and Drunk Dory and Jacked Up and Endless Bummer, but compared to the rest of the album, I think they're a bit lackluster.
I think California Kids is my favourite.
California Kids would be my favourite.
I can't remember one I really like, actually.
We know what...
got a good thing.
Thank God for Girls is really good, actually.
Fellow UDS member Craig Bourne, I have it on good authority that he likes Do You Want to Get High?
Yeah, no surprise there. That is a great song, to be fair. It's a great song. Good choice, Craig.
Oh, inside jokes.
Non-UDS member Josh loves Jacked Up, and I'd say he loves it to the extent it's one of his favourite Weezer songs.
Wow, that's a...
I can't remember what about it he really likes, but he does. He loves that song.
I think it was the lyrics. I think he likes how sad the lyrics are in juxtaposition to the sound of the music.
But yeah, I'm quite happy to have this at the bottom of S, if everyone else is.
That's where I'd put it.
It is there. It is there. So we move forward 1 year, unfortunately, to 2017's Pacific Daydream.
Rivers
Cuo-NO. Yeah, I'm just moving it. We don't have to talk about this, do we?
See, the thing is,
this is their worst album.
You think? I think we're gonna get onto worse, but Mexican Fender is okay. I kind of like.
Mexican Fender is the only good song.
Yeah,
don't try and throw Feels Like Summer at me, because Feels Like Summer is dog shit. It's catchy, but that doesn't mean it's good.
I like it. I like the first 2 or 3 tracks on this, but then it falls off completely. I think it goes Rivers Cuo-NO, but above Raditude, personally.
No. Worst album.
What about you, Neil?
Oh yeah, I think Raditude's better than this actually. Yeah, I wouldn't
You
even
think?
argue that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If only because at least Raditude knows it's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Whereas this is them trying to be on form, but they just kind of.
I love
fall flat on their face.
I love the idea that Weezer released an album not hoping it'll be good. just like Raditude.
Doesn't surprise me nowadays.
Yeah,
That's the
actually,
case.
Yeah. To be fair.
Like, Weezer are one of those bands who have just fully embraced the streaming culture and they're just like, let's put shit out whether it's good or not nowadays. And they don't play the stuff from the new albums. They don't fucking bother. They keep playing the old stuff. They know full well what they're putting out isn't good, but they're going to do it for the sake of it nowadays.
We were meant to.
And in some respects, I applaud them for it, frankly.
We've got another 4
I still
albums,
sit here.
and
I still sit
don't
here
regret
getting
it,
excited about new albums. I'm like, Weezer have a new album. Oh, I can't wait. And I listen to it, and it's like, oh, okay.
My favourite thing about Weezer is there was a Omega 64 video about Sonic, and they go to the restaurant Sonic in America, and they complain about how bad Sonic is, and it's all like, just this analogy for how bad Sonic the Hedgehog is, and at the end of it they say, okay, let's promise never to patronise ourselves by going to Sonic again, and they're all like, all agreed. Let's all go listen to some Weezer albums. Like, yeah, and it's the funniest thing. That was back in like 2010.
Oh my god!
If it was even that early.
Wow, they certainly did jump the shark a while ago. But we've got 2 more to go because we on this list that we've got, which we'll put a link to in the description below if anyone wants to play around. But we've got the Teal album, which we've said
Are we going to discuss this anyway? But...
I mean, we put a poll out on Twitter as to whether or not we should count this, which I'd forgotten about until you guys reminded me. Apparently, the people have spoken that we shouldn't include this, but should we disregard that and just sort of give it an arbitrary ranking now anyway?
Yeah, might as well.
If I were putting Teal album in this list, I would probably put it.
I'd put it above Raditude, but still the top of Rivers Cuo-No.
Yeah,
I think I might be inclined to put it above Make Believe personally, but
I would disagree
because they took other people's songs. And the other people's songs are
Weezer
already
songs,
good,
and they aren't Weezer songs, and they've not even Weezerfied the covers. They
Exactly.
I don't even
That's
think
it.
they're that good covers. Yeah.
No,
so.
if a band does a cover, in my personal taste, it should be an adaptation or their what's the word? Their take on it, rather than just a straight, we're going to cover this track as a cover
certainly
band.
If you're going to do a covers album, if you're just going to cover a song for the live lounge or something, by all means do a straight ahead cover. If you're doing a covers album, you better have something to fucking say.
Yeah, exactly. Like I talk about Jamie Lemon and Ruben a lot because they're like my favourite artists. But Jamie Lemon's Shuffle from the same year is a much better covers album because he picked some weird old stuff to cover.
He did Popeye the Sailor Man.
He and the theme music to X-Men Adamantium Rage for the Mega Drive. And as well as a chapter from Moby Dick. He just did like weird stuff and he made it his own because that's what a good cover album does. This is just a straight, like, this could be a pub band covering all these tracks for all I care. And it's very disappointing. So sorry.
I want to know, like, I know UDS member Craig isn't here to defend it because I know he loves this one. I don't know why. I want to know what he loves about this album.
Josh also loves this one.
I was about to say that as well. Like, non-UDS member Josh also loves this album.
People who aren't particularly Weezer fans, I'd say.
Oh!
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Craig's gonna be mad.
He didn't care about Weezer until the Teal album. I'm not having it.
Really?
Really?
Oh.
You don't
as
remember?
far as I know, yeah. He never made a fuss about Weezer until the Teal album came out, and then he bought it on everything like vinyl, CD, cassette, didgeridoo.
Scrimshaw.
Yeah, it's a bizarre album. Like I think I get the impression they only made it because their cover of Africa sort of provoked interest back in Weezer, and they're like, oh, you know what? We could probably make something of this. And
I'd hate to call Weezer a sellout band, but I mean, we're going to get to OK Human, which literally has a song which might as well be an advert for Audible, frankly.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the cover of Africa, which sort of set this all off, it was followed up by Toto covering Hash Pipe, which is a much better cover. Tremendously better cover.
Weezer also covered Rosanna, which is a far better Africa Toto song. So.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, the Toto cover of Hash Pipe is so much better, and I would actually say it might be better than the original Hashpipe. And I love Hashpipe, but the Toto cover is that good that it just might trump it. But anyway, we'll put it in D tier for now, just so that we have mentioned it. And we will move on to the penultimate album in this list, which is the Black Album, which is another... I'm a little bit annoyed that we've done it in this order, because we're going to end on such a bummer. But the Black Album is another...
That's the way Weezer have gone.
It's not a good album. It's not a good album.
If we were doing this after
Literal endless bummer.
If we were doing it after Van Weezer, I think we'd have a little bit of an uptick, maybe.
But Van Weezer is not out yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Black Album, it's just... I mean, Zombie Bastards is okay for like being a bit fun, but it's not really a good song.
I'd say this album has two... I quite like Living in LA, and I'd say Can't Knock the Hustle is funny. But otherwise, there's nothing here. And it's really disappointing, because I thought the Black Album was going to be great. And look behind the curtain, I got sent the Black Album about... Might have ended up being about a year before it came out, and I really enjoyed it. But then the Black Album actually came out, and it was not the same album, so...
Really?
Really.
What, was it different songs or different mixing or what?
There were some similar, some same songs, but changed up completely, and there were also some songs that I just never heard before on the new one.
Do you still have the files for that?
I do not, I'm afraid.
Oh, I
Probably
really want to.
best.
I want to hear this unreleased version of the Black Album. That's amazing.
I don't remember anything about this album.
That's probably for the best.
Like, Apple Music is telling me like the starred ones. I guess they're normally the three most popular on the album, and it's the first three songs. Oh, maybe there might be singles.
Can't Knock the Hustle, Zombie Bastards, and
High as a Kite.
High as a Kite, yeah, they were.
But
singles.
the thing is, it came out like 3 months after the Teal Album, and I think because the Teal Album still had a bit of novelty factor, they just didn't push the Black Album as much, so it kind of fell under the radar.
Well, I remember when they were touring in the aftermath, they were playing songs from the Teal Album. I think they played one song from the Black Album.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I was saying earlier. Weezer don't play the new songs very much. They play maybe a single or two because they know people don't want to hear it. They just put it out for, shits and giggles at this point.
Yeah, it's it ain't great. It ain't great. I'm saying below the Teal Album personally.
I'd add Raditude over it.
So
sure. I could not remember this album at all. So you put it wherever, and just as long as it's in the bad boy, the naughty list,
the Rivers Cuo-NO. Anyway, so we're on to the final album, which is this year's OK Human, which if nothing else, has a cool album cover. I kind of dig the album cover.
It has a cool album cover. I think it's got a title that given what it's referencing, immediately makes the album disappointing when you listen to it. Above all else, the biggest crime of OK Human is just how boring it is. I think it's
so boring.
The only boring Weezer album, frankly. At least everything else is kind of interesting to listen to.
Yeah, that's the problem. It just has nothing to grab you in. As you said, it's almost like advert music, which is the most boring music.
What song did they release as a single of this one?
I think all my favorite songs, the first song on the album was a single, and I think that's pretty good. But otherwise, none of it stands out.
Was that the one where he's sitting at the piano, or wherever it is? Okay,
yeah.
I don't think I've listened to this album yet, to be fair. But as you have said, this is my only comment would be that given what the title is referencing, yes, it's probably crap.
It's a ballsy move, and it just doesn't pay off.
Yeah,
I think it kind of summarizes Weezer's attitude in the 2010s and beyond. They have a very ballsy attitude towards their ego, and it never pays off. There's no payoff, or at least the payoff is that it's naff.
But the thing is,
I get excited about a new Weezer album every time I hear there's one coming. Maybe it's Stockholm syndrome at this point, but I just. It's always a disappointment when an album comes out by Weezer and it's not good, because I know like the White Album and everything will be alright in the end. I know they can come back and do it if they want to. It's just that Rivers doesn't want to.
But then it's why doesn't he want to? Because clearly he can write the White Album. They can all write the White Album.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the case that if they're gonna shoot for the stars, they might get a couple of hits out of 5, and those albums are gonna be the cream of the crop. And I think that's the thing, is that looking at this list now, there is more albums in River, because I mean, just to sort of get it out of the way, I'm putting OK Human in Rivers Cuo-No.
I would agree.
I would put it below the Black Album.
I'd put it between Black and Pacific Daydream.
Yeah, me too. So just to sort of finish on the point, we've got more albums in Rivers Cuo-No than anywhere else. Like, we've got 3 in Very, Very Good, 2 in A, B, and C, respectively, and then 5 in Rivers Cuo-No. But those 3 albums in Very Good, Very Good are some of my favourite albums of all time, which sort of cements their legacy. And I would have put the Red Album up there as well. And the thing is that is where Weezer's legacy is that they have got these bright sparks that just absolutely eclipse almost every other band in sort of rock and alternative music. They just release a lot of trash as well.
I've had 2 cups of coffee and my arms are going fizzy.
I don't think Weezer released a bad album per se until 2017, but since then it's been bad album after bad album. I know you guys disagree because of Raditude and Hurley, but
I think
I
at the
love
time
those albums.
they weren't necessarily bad albums, but then you sort of get them in perspective as time goes on.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a case of growing up and enjoying different music and realizing my tastes were never that good anyway. But as you get older, your tastes change, and you know. I would agree that Weezer had a very strong 90s period, and then they sort of flip-flopped, and then they flopped, and they kept flopping really hard. But then they had the White Album. They went, oh, there's the flip, and they did this huge backflip. It was like this sick, you go to a party, everyone's smashed, and it was just massive. Oh my God, you see him? He did backflip. And then he goes, yeah, I did a backflip, and then he just right on his face again. That's Weezer.
The White Album is the 360 no scope of Weezer albums, but obviously we mentioned very briefly Van Weezer there as well, which actually was meant to come out last year, but because of like COVID and everything, it got pushed back to later this year. And the singles they've released off that are kind of a little bit more promising. I don't know about you, Dobby.
I think The End of the Game is the best song they've released since the White Album, no question about it. The other one's called Heroes, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I quite like that song. I didn't think it was anything world-changing, but I thought it was pretty good. Van Weezer. Now, again, I get excited about a Weezer album when I know it's coming. This one's been coming a long time. This was going to be the Hella Mega album, and fingers crossed it still will be, but knowing them, this album will still come out this year, and they'll put some other shit out before the Hella Mega tour actually happens.
Yep.
I'm very excited about Van Weezer, and maybe it's just because you can hear the guitars are here. Maybe it's just because I know how much Rivers loved Van Halen and metal, and I really want to see him go riff heavy. I don't know. I imagine my expectations might end up being null and void yet again, but I do have a bit of a stiffy about Van Weezer.
That's good to know. Neil, do you have any sort of... were you aware of Van Weezer coming out?
Yeah, I mean, when did that single first release? When did
End of the Game would have been...
That was it.
It was when Hella Mega was announced, because Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer did it the same day. So it would have been like September, October 2019.
Jesus Christ.
Because I didn't really care much for it, but then I think maybe my problem with like Weezer in their weaker albums is that it's already kind of derivative of stuff. It's probably, like you say, it's stuff that Rivers really likes, like riff heavy metal, because he was really into metal, wasn't he? Like before he really got into doing Weezer stuff. And my concern, it's not even a concern because I just don't care anymore, is that well, my concern is that it will just be derivative, and it's, it'll just be another Rivers trying to emulate what he loved. And I think Weezer are best when they're Weezer.
Yeah.
Rather than just trying to be someone that they're not.
I think that's probably the best way that it can be articulated, is that the White Album was Weezer going back to being Weezer, and that's why it was so good. So yeah, I mean, I as I say, I too get excited for every Weezer album. I really hope Van Weezer is a little bit more interesting at the very least, even if it's not a home run. I think the fact that they're going to be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek this time is going to be fun, and I'm really excited to see them live. Hopefully, touch wood, on the Hella Mega Tour, because they are one of my favourite bands who I'm yet to see live, and I really want to. Never seen them live, no.
I've seen them twice.
I was going to say, I presume you have, because
I've seen them once with Dobby.
A lot of people say that they're not a good live band, but
me and Neil saw them on the White Album tour, and we loved it. But Josh, who was also with us, didn't love it.
Interesting.
They had sound issues, but I think that's more to do with Brixton having
Academy,
sound issues.
Yeah.
What did I see them on before? I want to say it would have been. Oh, I have no idea.
Was it Reading 2010?
No, 2011. I'm pretty sure they were over here.
So it would have been Hurley, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think they played anything from Hurley.
So
it was while in the States they were doing the tour where they did Blue Album one night and then Pinkerton the next night. They came to London, cool. They did one night, and I mean it was Blue Album and Pinkerton heavy, so I loved it. But yeah, I'd like to have seen a bit more of a mixture, I think. But I mean, also I can't complain. That was the first time I saw them. They did do The Greatest Man That Ever Lived, and I thought it was great. But they also did Teenage Dirtbag, so.
Swings and roundabouts.
They did it better than Weezer did when I saw Weezer do it, mind you. So,
well, it's not hard. It's not hard. Oh, so I think we've got the ranking of the album. So should I read it from bottom to top?
Yeah, go for it. Because I don't think I've got them in the right order on my list here. So
I will go in condescending order. We have Pacific Daydream, OK Human, The Black Album, Raditude, The Teal Album, Make Believe, Hurley, The Green Album, Maladroit, whatever we want to call it, The Red Album, Everything Will Be Alright in the End, The White Album, Pinkerton, and right at the top, The Blue Album. Where we started is where we end. What a list of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I think we've got the top four perfectly right. I think. Well, no.
I think we got the top three. Yeah, at the very least.
The top three are definitely right. I think Everything Will Be Alright in the End is right where it should be. I'd love it in S tier, but I would definitely say there's a notable decline from the top three to Everything Will Be Alright in the End. Then you've got the sort of mid section where I think it's all up in the air, but I think we've got D tier perfectly right as well, even with Raditude.
Fair enough. Well, obviously, this is just a consensus of our three opinions. We'd love to know what you would rank the album, so let us know in the description below what your favourite Weezer album is. And hey, if you enjoyed this sort of thing, first of all, me and Dobby looked at the Foo Fighters discography in the run-up to Medicine of Midnight, so you can check that out. And if there's any other bands that you'd like us to feature, just let us know. We like music, and these things are fun to do. It's nice to rediscover some old favourites and listen to some things that perhaps haven't listened to in a while and hear them in a new light. So yeah, I think that does it, unless anyone has any final thoughts on Weezer.
Get better.
Get better.
Here's how much I love Weezer.
I can't see you still, so you're going to have to explain it to me.
I'll do the audio description, but currently I'm looking at Tom just smiling, so I can't really do it.
Let me... You wouldn't get it. It's an anime thing.
Okay, I don't get that, Tom. I can't explain.
And on that note,
Rivers Cuo-NO is a huge nerd. I want to shove him in a locker.
Okay.
I mean, Neil is the resident bully here at UDS Music.
Oh, you're going... No, not... You can't go
to
prison.
That's more like an angry granddad.
Yeah. You're gonna...
I'll work on it. I'll come back in a UDS podcast.
Thank you. So, without further ado, while Neil is training to be a bully, my name's been Tom.
My name's been Dobby.
And I've been Meatball.
And he's been Meatball. And thank you very much. See you next time.